Okay, I found the traffic in LA. So, or I found the traffic in the LA area. And so I figured I'd go on with the next part of the story. There's all these idiots trying to squeeze past me at this point. See? Idiot. Anyway, so we'll talk for another 10 minutes and I'll put that out. But I figured since I'm stuck in traffic, I'll do this. The GPS may go off. No, it won't. Anyway, where was I in the story? So we were having car trouble, and we were in Knoxville, and we got to Nashville, and we were still having car issues. I think we started having trouble in Knoxville, and so I put fluid in it, and then in Nashville it needed more fluid, which I knew it needed a leak, or maybe it was Nashville and then Knoxville. Yeah, it was Nashville and then Knoxville. Nashville we started having problems. Knoxville we ended up going and getting like fluid. Stop leak and blah 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 and blah 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 to try and fix it. And so I did all that, and we ended up spending the night in Bristol, Tennessee at a rest area. I think it was just inside Virginia, so probably Bristol, Virginia actually. But did the whole like 2-hour power nap thing again, like same knock on the window, hey, let's go, and got up and everything. And so I'm driving, and I'm sick at this point. I mean, sick to the point that we're buying cheap oil, and the cheap oil is making my stomach turn. So the joke I made at the time was that I was allergic to cheap oil because I was just becoming a car guy. And I thought that was funny. And but it was the smell of the oil was making me really sick, nauseous. So I'm not feeling well. Don't know if I didn't know at the time if I was running a temperature or not, and don't know now if I was. But I was getting pretty bad. Starting to have bad stomach cramps and everything. So it was kind of. So anyway, we continued on or whatever, and we're going up the highway, and the truck's doing about 70, and I'm following everybody else, and all of a sudden it downshifted. And we're, about midway through Virginia at this point. There's really no other problems. Then about midway through Virginia, all of a sudden it downshifted. Like, shit. So, not knowing better, I put my foot in the floor, trying to get it picked back up to speed. It wouldn't. It just was getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And so, finally, it just, I'm doing like 70 in third gear, I guess, and, which is just too high of an RPM for the engine to maintain. And all of a sudden, it just stopped running. And I'm, doing 70 and it just dies. And so, I ended up pulling it over to the side of the highway and get it to the side of the highway and everything, and pop the hood and checking fluids. Fluids seem to be okay. Can't really tell what's going on at this point. Don't really know what I'm doing. I basically knew how to change oil at that point. That was about it. So, I ended up getting it started, and we happened to break down, I think near a little town called Mount Jackson, Virginia. If you look it up, it's on the interwebs or whatever. And we break down there, and I ended up limping it up the shoulder of the highway of 81, Interstate 81, up to this gas station. It was in the middle of nowhere. As a matter of fact, I think that gas station is still in the middle of nowhere. So, which is just kind of hilarious to me. But, limped it up the service road. We get in there, and I go inside, and I, buy, whatever cheap fluids they got, oil and transmission fluid. Feeling sick to my stomach because it's, because I'm sick at this point. I don't know what with, but I'm not feeling well. And, not hungry either. Hadn't really been hungry since we ate Indian food. Wink, wink. There you go. I can't wink. So anyway, so I start pouring it in, and my sister's standing there, a little ways away from the car. She goes, is it supposed to be coming out that fast? And I go, what do you mean coming out? It's not supposed to be coming out at all. And I get up underneath, there's like a steady stream of transmission fluid coming out of the transmission. I'm like, I can't fix that. Like, I don't have the tools, and we're gonna have to do something else. And so, ended up calling a tow truck and having the truck towed over to a place called Third Hill Garage in Mount Jackson, Virginia. And get off the tow truck, mechanic comes out and he goes, so what's it doing? And I'm just like, well, it died. I'm telling him, I'm like, well, can you start it up? I'm like, yeah, I'll start it. So I start it up and everything. And it makes this horrible squealing noise. And he goes, oh, that's a death rattle. And I'm like, what's the death rattle? Knowing full well it was probably bad news. And he goes, well, it means you need a new engine. And I went, well, sure. And so I, pull my sister aside, look at her, and I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I got to have the truck. I need the truck in New York. And I went, well, but, it needs a new engine, and it's going to be a lot. It's not going to be easy to do, especially not from here. And she was like, well, I'll just pay for it. So she had spent pretty much all of her, trust fund at this point on equipment, and the truck, and gasoline to get us as far as we got. And so the guy goes, well, I can, being as old as it is, I may not be able to find a motor with good mileage on it. I'm going to have to buy a new motor. And so my sister laid out the $1,700 for a crate motor straight from the factory, from Chevrolet. So she goes, okay, well, laid out $1,700, and that was it for her. She had maybe $300, maybe $500 left at that point, and there just wasn't anything, that could be done. And so I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to get the rest of how long is this going to take? Well, it's going to take a couple of weeks. I can't stay a couple of weeks. I got to go. Like, I got to get home and get back to my job, which I'll get to that towards the end of the story. But I got to get home and get back to my job, and just, this isn't going to work for me. Well, I don't know what to tell you. So I decided I needed to buy or rent a U-Haul truck, So the mechanic, real nice guy, I can't remember his name. I think his name was Terry. Real nice guy. Starts driving us around, trying to get me, I start calling around to, U-Haul places, trying, looking in the book, finding U-Haul place. Finally, I find somebody who's got the truck I want. 26-foot truck, so there's enough room for my fat ass, the other two people that were riding, including this Eon character, which I'll get to him in a little bit. But, I'm nice enough to take him, and there was a dog, and all the equipment. So I rented a 26-foot U-Haul truck. 26-foot U-Haul truck, because I figured that was the best one to get. So, we get the, interesting van up there. So we get this, 26-foot U-Haul. So, he's driving me around to, U-Haul places, and I gotta go here to the store, and I'm still not feeling well. Finally, I tell him, I thought I was going to throw up at some point. I told him, I said, you got to stop. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm going to throw up. So I think he was riding in a customer's car too. So we pull over to the side of the road, and I stepped out and just dry heaved. I was that bad, And finally I went over, and we were at a store, a little convenience store, and I go in, got like a 7-Up or something, and came back out. I seem to be okay for now. Just still feeling awful. Just tired as all fuck at that point. I just, I'm having trouble. I can't keep doing this. And so, anyway, so we finally, we got, I'm in, a weird place. I've never been here in California before, so I'm, looking around. But anyway, we, finally get the U-Haul truck, drive it back to the, to the shop, and I get into the shop, and we load everything up, and I make sure that he's got my sister's number, and he's got my number, and everything. And so we left at that point. I'm dead tired, and everybody else is the two people we were following, they just kept going. And we were like, well, just catch up with us when you figure it out. Okay. So they just kept going. There was, we were hours behind, a whole day behind at that point. It's whatever. So finally, I'm just we got to stop. So we start looking for this hotel room, for a hotel or whatever. This is before Google Maps. And so, now I can, pull up a hotel room nearby and, call them from my phone and, whatnot. But back then, you couldn't do that. And so, there were these blue signs on the highway, tell you about, the next accommodation or whatever. So we keep going by these blue signs. We drove for about 30, 40 miles. We go by a blue sign. The blue sign would be next accommodation, blah, blah, blah. We pulled into one place. It was abandoned. Half of the doors had the bottom half of the door broke off. People getting in, doing whatever they were doing. Vagrants or vagrants or whatever. and whatnot. So finally, we're going down the highway, and I'm dead tired. And we see this one sign called the Strasbourg Hotel, and I pull off, and I will tell you guys about that in the next video because we're at 10 minutes. So that's it. You guys keep the shiny side up. I'll see you down the road.